December 1944. The Allied forces believed the war was effectively won. Germany was crumbling, the Air Force was battered, and the focus was on preparing for the final push across the Rhine. The Western Front was quiet, held lightly by exhausted American divisions, many of whom were seeing their first combat. This complacency was Hitler's last, desperate chance. Hitler poured every last available tank, gun, and man, including large numbers of young conscripts and fanatical SS units, into a massive, secret counteroffensive. Operation Watch on the Rhine. The Battle of the Bulge. The objective was audacious: break through the thin American lines in the Ardennes forest, seize the crucial port of Antwerp, and split the Allied armies in two, forcing a separate peace. The biggest initial failure was American intelligence. The massive German buildup, carried out under complete radio silence and camouflage, was almost entirely missed or dangerously dismissed by U.S. High Command, blinded by their own sense of inevitable victory. When the attack began on December 16, 1944, it was the largest surprise attack the U.S. Army would ever face. The German assault smashed into the thin American line. Using fog, snow, and overwhelming force, the German armored divisions rapidly penetrated the forest, creating a large bulge in the Allied lines. The initial days were sheer chaos and panic for the Americans. Units were surrounded, cut off, and decimated. Amidst the confusion, the battle revealed its true, unsparing brutality. The most infamous event was the Malmedy Massacre, where over 80 captured American prisoners of war were brutally executed by German SS troops near the village of Malmedy. This savage act confirmed the extreme nature of the fighting and eliminated any lingering thoughts of surrender among the American soldiers. As the German advance continued, the American forces displayed extraordinary individual courage. Small, isolated units, like those holding the key crossroads at St. Vith and the engineers desperately blowing up bridges, fought to the last man, slowing the advance just enough to buy time for the Allied reserves to mobilize. The heart of the battle, and the symbol of American resistance, became the small Belgian town of Bastogne. This crossroads was vital to the German offensive. The American 101st Airborne Division, the Screaming Eagles, were rushed into the town, quickly surrounded by German armor and cut off from supplies, food, and medicine. The siege of Bastogne was fought in a relentless, crippling snowstorm. When the Germans demanded surrender, the American commander, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe, gave the famous one-word reply, "Nuts!" The fight was waged against both the SS Panzer divisions and the extreme elements. Without proper winter gear, food, or medical evacuation, the resilience of the American paratroopers, under constant artillery fire, became the turning point. Their refusal to yield, coupled with the eventual clearing of the weather that allowed Patton's Third Army and Allied air support to finally break the siege, sealed the fate of the German offensive. The American resolve had stopped Hitler's final roll of the dice. The Battle of the Bulge was the largest and bloodiest single battle fought by the United States Army in World War II. The cost was immense: over 19,000 Americans killed and more than 80,000 casualties in total. Yet, it was the battle that finally broke the back of the German army. The heavy losses of tanks, fuel, and experienced personnel could never be replaced, guaranteeing that the war would end shortly thereafter. The final uncut truth of the battle is that it was not won by the generals, but by the raw, spontaneous courage of isolated American soldiers, the battalion of one, who faced overwhelming force and terrifying cruelty and refused to break in the worst winter conditions. Their sacrifice saved the Allied offensive and shattered Hitler's final, desperate hope. This has been War Stories Uncut. Subscribe now and hit the bell.